What's up, everybody? It's Frederick Douglass Bussey back with another Scaleocity edition, talking about business, how you can execute like an earthquake. If you've been struggling with trying to figure out how you can get better results, more impact, be more productive, effective, and you're wondering how you can do that without killing yourself because you're already grinding to the bone or you're already getting the most out of your team, that's what you think. Then we're going to talk about how you can do that, be even more effective at what you're trying to do. If you can hear me, drop a 1 in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up. Watching this on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, make sure that you are all locked in. Let us know where you're watching it from. Today, we're talking about Scaleocity executing like an earthquake. Let's go to work. So I was having a conversation with one of my coaches, and he brought up a point, and it made me do some research on earthquakes. And it's related to what we're talking about here today. And I think it's going to be really valuable for you if you are checking this out. If you are wondering how you can be more effective in your business, you're wondering how you can be more effective in life, period, right? How you can make certain shifts in your thinking and in your execution to get better results for your business, whether that's more revenue, more customers, more leads, whether it's improving on delivery, whether it's maximizing your market scale, whether it's just surviving through a recession or economic downturn, whatever the case may be, we are going to talk about how you can think about that, making a subtle shift in what you're doing to be able to execute at a higher level. What does that mean? So when it comes to earthquakes, right? It's a very simple, well, it's not a very simple process. We're not going to go deep into the science, but I want to kind of basically break it down. And I was wondering what it is about earthquakes that makes them happen, right? And so essentially, the Earth sits on tectonic plates, and right, so it's basically two plates like this, two or more, but in any general area. And so what's happening is that they're always moving back and forth. There's always some movement. So when that happens and they're moving back and forth, what you get is the fluidity on the earth. And there's a reason why that happens, but on the edges, sometimes they move at such a pace that you're able to create an overwhelming amount of energy that overcomes the friction, right? And so when you start to feel that energy, it builds up, and that's what we feel as an earthquake, right? When that happens, we feel, and it shifts things, it tears, can cause a lot of destruction, puts a lot of fear, right? But energy is being created through the earth all the time. The parallel that we have with our business, and here's what I want to say, is that there's 3 different ways that earthquakes can happen. And one of those ways is through volcanic activity, right? So when a volcano erupts and it causes these vibrations and it shifts the plates of the earth, right? The other one is that there are other things that happen in nature that allow it to be able to occur. But one of the third ways that I didn't even realize was that human beings can cause earthquakes. We can do that by drilling, by whether we're doing fracking, or drilling for oil or things of that nature, and you hit one of those tectonic plates and you cause things to shift, and it creates more momentum, more energy in that particular area. And the thing that I found was really interesting about that is that because these plates sit on top of the earth, but they actually can go very deep, right? Depending on the depth of the energy, that also creates the amount of intensity that we have. And so the way that we measure an earthquake and the energy of an earthquake is we measure the force on what's called the Richter scale, right? And so the Richter scale goes from basically, well, let's do it this way. Basically goes from 1 to 10, right? So 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go one more, 9, and then 10, right? And so on the Richter scale, what happens is it measures the intensity of the force. Here's one of the things that I didn't understand, right? So we often think of, like a, 10 being the lowest and 1 being the highest. And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go one more, 9, and then 10, right? And so on the Richter scale, what happens is it measures the intensity of the force. Here's one of the things I didn't understand, right? So we often think of, like a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So there are different levels. And I always thought that a 1 is not a very big deal. And so a 2 can't be that much big of a deal, right? So until you get like to a 4 or 5 or a 6 maybe on the Richter scale, that's when you start thinking about an earthquake as being serious or not. Here's the thing that I didn't understand was that on the Richter scale, every number represents a force multiplier of 10. So it's 10x the next number. So 1 is not 1 times, 2 is not 2 times as powerful as 1 on the Richter scale. It's actually 10 times. And then 3 is not 3 times, it's actually 30 times, right? I'm sorry. It's actually, so 10 times 10 is actually 100. So what you're doing is you're adding a multiplier of 10 times the force every time you go up. So that by the time you reach 10, which is nearly impossible, right? We've rarely had anything that goes above a 9. But if you register a 9, we're talking about 10 multiples of 9, right? So 9, I can't even do the math. We're essentially doing 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000, 100,000, a million. So you start to see that the further you get up on the scale, the more powerful, the more impactful that the earthquake is. What does that have to do with business? What we don't often understand is that the way that we measure business, we often measure it linearly and we don't measure it exponentially. And subtle shifts that we implement can have tremendous impact in our business based on what we're doing, the way that we're implementing it, the way that we're creating or executing. And so when we are focused in on these simple shifts, what it allows us to do is to create exponential power in our business. This is important because a lot of times we're doing a lot of different things that we don't understand. If we're not doing the right things, then we're not doing what's necessary to be able to create that exponential magnitude of force and the impact of the force, right? And that's really important. So you've got to be clear on what the things are you need to be doing, what you need to be focused on. And when you drill down to what that is, very often like drilling into the earth, like we do here, to create that earthquake, when you drill in the right area, you can create more magnitude of impact. What I was saying here is that with the depth of it, depending on the depth of the earthquake, then it's going to affect how impactful you're going to feel that on the surface. So the deeper it is, the farther away it is, then the less you're going to feel it. The closer to the surface that it is, the more you will feel it. And so the higher it will register on the Richter scale. And what we want to do is, when we're in our business, we want to drill as close to the leverage point in our business so we can create more impact and be able to get more of a force multiplier in our business. All right, so if you're tracking with me so far, we've had a science lesson and a business lesson all together at one. But if you're tracking what I'm saying, drop a comment below. Let me know that you're understanding, you're tracking where we're going. This is why this is important. Very often what we're doing is we're doing a lot of activity, but we're not getting the output, not getting the productivity. And so there's a couple of things I want to talk about before I let you go that describe or define how we can create more impact, a couple of those key shifts, right? And so one of those things is very simple. In business, we want to use what's called force multipliers, right? That gives us exponential results. And I've talked about this before. Exponential versus linear, right? So linear results are on a continuum, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have to go in this direction. I'll erase that right there. You have to go in this direction to be able to get there. Exponential, however, is like this. So it's a multiplier, right? So we're going 1 to 2, then we're going 2 to 4. Then we're going 4 to 8, and so on and so on, right? And so that is how you start to be able to see the scale: 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and then so on and so on. And so if you have the right leverage points, you're able to be able to do that. And that's a first multiplier. The first word I wrote here is force exponential. Exponential versus linear. Can you see that? I know my camera is focusing in and out, but this force multipliers, and there's exponential versus linear, right? So what we're focused on is being able to create exponential outcomes in our business. And so very much like the Richter scale, we want to be able to go from 1 to 2, which is 1 to 10, then 10 to 100, because that's the leverage that we talk about in the Scaleocity model. Talk about how you can create more leverage in your business using your resources, whether it's time, money, people, or influence, right? In terms of your leadership, in terms of your network, in terms of other resources that you have. And understanding how to use each of those can, in its own way, become a force multiplier for your business, right? The other concept I want to talk about today is one of constraint, right? I'll put it down here. And think about constraint like a target, right? So in Scaleocity, we talk about, in Scaleocity framework, we talk about target practice as a way of being able to help you to achieve the things that you're aiming for in your business and in your life. And so one of the things that we often think about is that in terms of constraint, the theory of constraint basically talks about how you can, and this is not my principle, right? This is come up with, I don't want to misquote, I think it's Steve Drucker who came up with the theory of constraint. But in essence, what it does is it allows you to be able to hone in your focus. So you are actually restricting yourself to thinking of only one thing. And what that allows you to do is be able to go deeper, to go faster, and to go to accelerate your pace of progress, because you're not being distracted. You're not diluting all your efforts. You're not diluting all your energy. And the key to being able to do that is to know, first of all, what to focus on, and then how to apply that focus in the most powerful way to get the most results, right? So you can focus on something, but if you're not doing the right thing, if you're not applying the right amount of pressure or leverage in that particular area, you're not going to be able to get the greatest amount of results. So think of it as you want to lose weight. And so you're really, really focused on losing weight, and you are cutting out your diet, so you're limiting the amount of food that you're taking in, but you're not exercising, right? At some point, there's a balance. There's something that you have to be able to do more of and do less of something else to be able to get that full balance of what you need to be able to get the result that you want. And a lot of people are focused on the wrong things in their business. So for instance, you may think of working harder, right? You may think, well, if I'm worked 10 hours a day, then I'm going to work 20 hours a day to get more results. And the thing about that is there's a law of diminishing returns. So the longer you work, the more energy you expend. Therefore, the more you're working, the less you're getting out of it at a certain point, because there's only so much energy you have to expend. There's only so many resources. If your resources are limited, you can't double your resources by putting in more time. You're actually cutting your resources in half because you're expending more resources over a longer period of time. So what you got to learn to do is figure out, how can I get more out of these resources in less time so that I can be hyper-focused, so I can be more productive, productive, and get exponential returns on my investment of time and energy. All right. So dilution is one of the biggest problems that we have. And what constraint allows us to do is to be able to, instead of spraying all over the target, we focus on the thing that matters the most, right? So when you're playing darts, or if you're in archery, you get a certain amount of points for being out here. So let's say you get 1 point here, you get 5 points here, you get 10 points here, you get 20 points here, and then the bullseye is worth 50, right? Now, you could focus on hitting anywhere in this target, right, or hitting in each of these categories. But in reality, you don't get rewarded, because this is 1, 6, 16, 36, right? So that's 36 points, but hitting a bullseye is worth 50. So if I can hit the bullseye twice, I can get 100 points. Whereas even if I hit all across the board, I might still not add up to all of that. And it takes way more effort and way more arrows. So 2 arrows versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, however many arrows that I've expended. And so that's the concept that we're thinking of when we're talking about using that to get exponential results, focusing on one key thing and being able to execute on that. And so the thing is that when we focus on something, we actually exclude it to everything else, right? So we're no longer allowing in all this excess information. We're no longer spending excess amount of time. One of the things that I rarely do is I don't check email. I never check email. People who reach out to me with email I know are not highly attuned. So if somebody's going to reach out to me with email, then I use that for very specific reasons, to book people on the podcast, to maybe having transactions or want to have new clients, to be able to conduct business that way, to be able to archive the information and be able to access it later. But by and large, I don't use email for a lot of different things. And so that allows me to take time that a lot of people spend hours a day focusing on emails, and if you're not making money opening your email, why are you spending so much time doing it? And it's because we often think, well, I'm being productive. I have to scour the internet, or I have to be able to connect with people, whatever the case may be. Connection is great, but if connection isn't making you money, right? You want to do more of the things that are making you money and less of the things that are not. In fact, you don't want to do anything that's not making you money, and you only want to focus on those things that are, right? And so when you understand what those things are, you're able to focus in on it. You're able to get greater and greater results from everything that you're doing. All right. So that being said, hopefully you've taken this whole dive with me from the earthquake to understanding how we can be able to get more things out. We just used 2 of those models in the framework that we're talking about here. We talk about constraint. We talk about linear versus exponential results. Let me know in the comments if this has been valuable for you, if it's been helpful for you in thinking about how to move to the next level. Ask yourself the question, what's the thing I can do more of? What's the thing I can do less of? What's the thing that's getting me the greatest return on my investment and my energy and my time and my resources? What are the things that are giving me the least amount? If you can write those things down and you can categorize them, then all of a sudden you're able to see more clearly, oh, this is the thing that we don't need to focus on anymore. And it can be counterintuitive. It's often difficult to feel like we're giving up something, but in reality, what we're doing is we're gaining more. We're gaining more focus. We're gaining exponential results. We're gaining exponential outcomes, and we're getting closer to the things we want instead of being further away and moving towards things that we don't. All right. Hopefully that's been helpful for you. Let me know in the comments what you're discovering. If you're not yet a member of the 7-Figure Circle $1 Million Mastermind, I encourage you to join. You can, if you're watching this on Facebook, then you can click the link below. It's in the description on YouTube. It's in the comments, in the description of the video here on Facebook and on LinkedIn as well. Join us. We have amazing masterclass coming up here in a couple of weeks. We've got more trainings that we're doing. We've been building, and we're always soliciting from you the things that we would like to know that you feel will be most helpful for you and your business to be able to help you to grow. Join the 7-Figure Circle $1 Million Mastermind. Let us be able to support you with the free trainings, the content, masterclasses. And if you want more support, you want to start getting those exponential results right now, and you want to know how you can do that, feel free to reach out to me, drop a comment below, send me a direct message. Let us know how we can support you and what you're up to so you can continue to grow your business to 7, 8, 9 figures and beyond, to be able to create the impact of freedom and the legacy that you want to leave for your family and in this world. My name is Frederick Douglass Bussey, and it's been a pleasure being with you today. Let me know what you think. Where can you start executing like an earthquake? Let me hear from you. As always, ever forward.